right, Mary Liz, we're starting.
I don't know if she wants to start this, if it's on. This meeting of the trustees of the Lamesa Independent School District is now in order. It is 6 p.m. on October 19, 2023. A quorum is present with all board members present except April Martinez, Cindy Martinez, and Ernest Ojeda. This meeting has been duly called, and the notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 55. Mr. Ricci, would you please lead us in prayer?
If you would please bow. Dear Lord, just thank you for the parents and students that are here tonight to be recognized. They're just a small piece of a wonderful community, and they just represent everything that is good about Lamesa. So just bless them tonight and thank them for who they are and how they've been raised. Watch over our staff, our students, our board, our whole district as we continue to grow together towards a brighter future, and just make sure that everything we do in your name and in your path. Bless all the conflict that is happening around the world. Just keep people safe and put your vision in their minds so that we start growing in the right direction versus the wrong direction. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
No one signed up.
All right.
Okay. So we will start with Mr. Tipton, and we've tasked them with doing this pretty quickly because it does kind of get a little lengthy, but at the same time we don't want to rush when our kids get recognized. So Mr. Tipton will give you a bit of a review of things that have been going on at South Elementary, and then he will recognize some staff members and some students. And what we do, guys, we're going to recognize South, and then we're going to recognize North. So South will stay for North. And then after we recognize all the students and staff members, you can all get the road. So if everybody, once South is done, if you'll just have a seat and let North go, and then we'll be good to go. Mr. Tipton, they're all yours.
Stuff here. All right, President Gonzalez, Superintendent Ritchie, members of the board, I want to first off thank you for having me again. It's been an exciting first 9 weeks, and it has gone extremely fast for us. I've enjoyed getting to know you guys through this time, and seeing you on our campus is always a blessing. Thank you guys for coming through and walking through the other day to see what we're doing on campus. Our students, teachers, and school community, we appreciate everything you do. At this time, I'd like to honor a couple of individuals from South Elementary. The first one we're going to do is we're going to do what we call our tours of the week, and we've invited some to be here that we were able to get a hold of. So I'm going to call their names here in just a second, and let me just kind of let you know what the tours of the week is. They're selected weekly by teachers, and then they're put into a drawing, and then they're selected to be honorary tours of the week, and then they go back in afterwards if they're not selected. But teachers are selecting students they look for that are doing what we call tours, which means they're trustworthy, obedient, respectful, and safe. Teachers fill out a Google form, and Tour of the Week nominees are announced on Monday mornings during announcements. Ms. Clement takes care of that for me, so she does an awesome job with it. All nominees are announced, and then one student per grade level is randomly selected as the Tour of the Week. Their picture is taken and put on our Tour of the Week wall at the school and also posted on social media by Mr. Salceda. The students you see here tonight are either a nominee or a grade level winner for October. So I'm going to introduce them, and you guys can come up if hopefully you're present. Cabri Anala, Devin Mendoza, Olivia Gutierrez, Hero Flores, Brady McCurley, Taylor McCurley, Melissa Iglesias. Those are a couple of our tours. Never know what you're going to get at South Bend. But we're really proud of these students. They do a good job. They really do. So that's my first thing I want to do. The second one I want to do is hopefully he doesn't cry on me. But I want to spotlight somebody tonight that I have a very, very high respect for just because of the man he is, and it's Mr. McCurley Dimitri.
You're not going to cry.
I don't know where he got that from.
I don't know. Well, Dimitri is listed as one of our custodians at South, but he's so much more than that. He's a heart of gold, passion for kids. He's truly just a magnetic person at our school. I've never seen anybody that can clean up a spill or a mess, open a milk on the other hand, and talk to a kid having a bad day, and just do it with such a passion. He is all over our school. He's in the bathrooms cleaning up those kids. They love to see him every day, and he just brings an energy to our campus that I love seeing him every day. Plus, there's like 4 of us guys on campus, so I've got to talk to a guy. So, but I appreciate everything you do for us. I really respect you. The way you handle the kids is amazing. You're an amazing man, and I want to thank you for being on my staff. So, thank you. All right, and the last thing I'm going to do, this is a new thing, and something Mr. Ritchie knows about, myself and my AD, and the young lady here that is being honored knows she's being honored, but she doesn't know what it's for. I have a staple program, and those are basically things that I think are very important in building relationships in the school. I think they're important things of building with staff to try to build staff and basically it's something like you would do with a football team. It's different events, staples that hold your team together. So what I wanted to introduce is we are going to introduce the Apple Award, and I'm going to do this every 9 weeks. The next person I'm going to honor, she knows she's being honored as a teacher tonight, but what she doesn't know is she's receiving the very first Apple Award from South Elementary. This award goes out to a teacher at the end of every 9 weeks. This is part of one of my staples at South that I wanted to be some sort of a surprise and not something that was announced. As said, this award is separate from Teacher of the Month and is selected by our administration on campus. In order to receive this award, the teacher must be a champion for, and this is where the apple comes from. The A stands for academic excellence, and she exemplifies that. Passion for teaching, professionalism, leadership, and educational impact. And she does all these things on a daily basis, consistently, no matter what's going on. And she is just a strong leader, and I'm just very impressed. So our first Apple Award winner for the first 9 weeks is Bree Justice.
Hold that stick, Bree. Come on, man.
And I do have an award for Bree. I ordered some crystal apples to present to them. And Bree, you will be getting it tomorrow. So we'll take another picture. I just wasn't able to bring it to you tonight. So thank you guys. I don't know if you have any questions, but appreciate it. Thank you guys for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
South people will take a picture of South and North and everybody after this is over with. And I want to echo 2 things. One, I go in her classroom at least 2 or 3 times a week, and you see her again every day. I have not once walked in there where she's just not absolutely working as hard as I've ever seen somebody work, and it shows with the results she gets with her kids. And then that one, My first year at South, I learned how special Dimitri is. Everything Tipton said about him is true. He is a magnet for those kids, and those kids need a role model like him. I just love him to death, but he knows that, so I'm proud of him for being here tonight. Now we will turn it over to Ms. Kristen Griffin from North Elementary.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me back as well. We'll do just some campus updates, and then we'll also introduce some special people to recognize. You guys may have heard of all the work that we're doing with Ted Moore. It's been very inspirational just to be here and working with the staff and the students and the families of Lamesa. But I'm kind of a nerd, which is a good thing in this position, but I started reading the book Good to Great by John Collins. If you haven't read it, please do, because it's amazing. But there's something in there that when I listened to it, it reminded me of the work that we're doing here, and I wanted to share that with you. In it talks about disciplined people, having disciplined thoughts, and taking disciplined action. And I've just been so absolutely impressed by everybody that I have met here, families, students, staff, you guys, on the commitment to our schools and to our kids. And so thank you for that. Now to the important part, introducing our award winners this evening. The first one that we would like to honor is our staff member, our outstanding staff member. And this is Kelsey Gonzalez. You want to come up, Kelsey? So Kelsey is our social emotional support specialist, which is her favorite title. She'll tell you that. Kelsey is truly an all-utility player on our campus. She doesn't only take care of our students, she checks in on our staff. She assists with academics, with social emotional, anything and everything, parent and family engagement. She just truly is an asset in every way. There has never been a time, which is probably more often than she would like, that I say, Kelsey, I have this idea. What do you think? And she is always a yes, let's do it. It's for the kids. And she's just been instrumental in our success this first 9 weeks. So thank you, Kelsey. Our next one is our outstanding teacher. And when we originally talked about this, we talked about giving you a snippet of what goes on in their classroom. If you have not been in Katie Crutcher's classroom yet, we actually did an activity where all of our RLA teachers went and observed each other. And our award is both on their peer recommendation and on admin recommendation. So I actually brought some of her peers, and they're just going to give you a quick snippet of what it looks like in her classroom. So Ms. Guerra and Mr. Downer, if you want to come tell us about Katie.
So I've had the honor of working with Katie for going on 8 years now. And in the time that I've known her, she's always been a bundle of light. Students are excited to see her, staff are excited to see her, and thanks to our admin, we were able to actually go into classrooms and kind of look and see what everybody was doing. And the day I went in and viewed Katie, it just took me back, as my kids would say, way back to the 1900s when I was a kid. And in my favorite teacher's classroom, you know, you just felt that positivity radiating off of her, and there was so much collaboration, and she was just excited to be there, and so were the kids, and it was just awesome to see.
And I had to write mine down. I'm not good off the dome. So. Katie was one of the first people that I met when I moved to Lamesa, and one of the first times I met her was a lesson planning meeting in the summer, just over 3 years ago. And I walked in late because my car was in the process of breaking down, and on top of that, I didn't know where the PLC room was, or at that time, what PLC stood for. I had a giant stack of teacher's edition books with more information than I could process, and a knot in my stomach about starting a job in a new career field in a new city. And Katie took me to Perdoza's that day for lunch for the first mini free sopapillas. And we talked about the usual, get to know you stuff, like siblings, parents, and pets, and past jobs, and past relationships. And then we moved on to the stuff that really matters, like serial killer podcasts, and whether she was a DC or Marvel Comics girl, and the merits of Flair felt pens versus Inkjoy gel pens. And the more we talked, the more that knot in my stomach started to untie itself, because when you listen to Katie talk about teaching, you listen to someone who knows and loves what she's doing. Katie shared something with me that day that I've heard her tell at least half a dozen people since then, and she always gets really serious and sincere when she shares this. Katie started teaching because she wanted to make her grandmother proud. Fern thought she would make a good kindergarten teacher, so she became one. And every kid who has come through Katie's class since then has honored and affirmed Fern's dreams for Katie. More than anything, Katie wants her kids to look forward to coming to school and leave each day feeling like they've gained something valuable. She creates this kind of environment in her classroom by infusing joy and love into everything that she does. Whether it's through silly jokes, or fun games, or heartfelt conversations, she's always tried to create a space where her students feel free to be themselves. Katie being a fun and loving teacher is undeniable, but it goes deeper than that. She shows her kids that being fun and loving means being patient, empathetic, and compassionate. It means taking the time to get to know her students as individuals and to learn their unique needs and learning styles. And it means celebrating their successes as well as supporting them through their challenges. Every year, Katie and her kids are affectionately known as Crazy Crutchers Class, which is a title that she proudly claims and I think she came up with. And while there's no denying that she is Crazy Crutcher, she's also Compassionate Crusher, Kind Crutcher, Clumsy Crutcher, and consistently committed to caring for kids Crutcher. So Katie began teaching for her grandmother, but year after year she continues to teach for the next class of kids. The next group of students who she hasn't even met yet and who have no idea how much fun they're about to have in 3rd grade as a member of Crazy Crutchers Class.
Thank you.
All right.
That was awesome.
So now for our most exciting, for last, our students. We're all aware that grades and attendance matter, but we also know that there are other things in life that matter just as much, and in some cases even more. So the students we're recognizing this evening not only make the grades, not only have good attendance, but they represent the all-around outstanding students that have other skills. They demonstrate a dedicated work ethic. They also represent our character traits that we strive for every day at North Elementary, which are self-discipline, thoughtfulness, optimism, respect, and motivation. So these students are awarded for the first 9 weeks what we have termed our Golden Tour Award. And so for 3rd grade, we have Zayden Garcia. Jasmine Lopez Maldonado. In 4th grade, Ethan Antuna. Olivia Casillas. And for 5th grade, Rico Garza. And not here tonight, but also from the 5th grade is Layla Rodriguez.
Good job, guys.
That's a wrap. We're also having awards tomorrow, so excited to get to celebrate.
What time is that?
It is during our win time. So 5th grade is at 8 o'clock, and then 4th grade is at 10:40, and then 3rd grade at 2:30. So, and we are inviting parents as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good job, guys. In just 1 second, we'll get everybody that was recognized up here, if they would like to. They don't have to. We'd love for you to. And we'll just take a picture with everybody. But Ms. Gonzalez, if it's okay with you, I'll move my MVP to now. Because he needs to be recognized in front of all these people, too, because all these people are the people he cares about every day. So why don't you come on in here, Officer Boyd. I started doing an MVP that I picked out of the whole district, and it's just people that I, to put it simply, just think the world of. And I started to think about you when we had the incident at the football game a few weeks ago, because I've never seen somebody that doesn't say no any more than Officer Boyd does. We've worked together at middle school, we've worked together at South, we've worked together at high school, and the man absolutely loves our kids. And our kids absolutely love him. He runs our DARE program, which doesn't get enough recognition because There's a lot of schools that don't even have that anymore, but Officer Boyd keeps it going. He is aspired. I've seen him. I've seen young men and women that want to be in law enforcement, and this is the guy that kind of guides them on the path to do so. I mean, he's a friend, but he is hands down one of Lamesa ISD's MVPs that we are lucky to have, and I am lucky to work with you. So, thank you, Officer Boyd, for everything you do. All right, so I'm going to move this podium. If you were recognized, and board members, let's get in the picture. We're going to get you all up here and take a good picture. Parents, you're welcome to get in there so you can take a picture of everybody.
Okay, now we'll go into the 13th District Operations Consent Agenda items. Or minutes, sorry.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. I guess we'll do the financial report.
I can't believe they didn't want to stay for the
I
financial report.
know, huh?
The first item up on the agenda is the general fund by function. It's for the month of September. I added something to the report. For me, I hope if you like it, I'll keep it. But in the third row, you see the percentages. It's styled as 2023-24 FYTD percent. That gives me a look at the actual amount compared to the budget, because we've been showing it with the encumbered in there, and I just want to see it and track it that way. I usually did it anyway, so I just added that little column there so that we could see how each function, each fund can be looked at and use that for a reference instead of the one at the far right, because it excludes the encumbered. And what I did, of course, is I went down and just looked at the percentages and looked at where we were, and we should be for the month. 1/12 is about 8%. So the first thing I do is look at the deviations in that new column that I put there to see who was over and under in the percentage. And there were a couple of areas that I wanted to bring to your attention. The first one is student transportation. It's at 15%, so it's up substantially for the first month. Part of that is bus repairs. We had about $13,000 in one item, and in miscellaneous that put us at about $16,000 in repairs in the transportation department. The other impact on that 15% was our insurance. We paid the $621,000 for InsureCuff for the year, and of course it has an impact on the amount because it's so much higher, and it's a one-time thing. It's not, we don't distribute it out over 12 months. We pay it all in the first month. So there were 4 areas: 34 for student transportation, 41 for general administration, 51 for plant maintenance and operation, and 53 for data processing. All those areas are up over budget, and it's primarily because of the cost of the insurance and the way we distribute it to each one of those particular functions. So,
is the down payment on that bus in there?
I know,
and
yes.
the down payment is also...
That's a big chunk of it right there.
Yes, it's in there too, and that would be in the student transportation.
So, you take that into account,
That's
you're way under budget.
700. Yeah, that's between the insurance and the bus, it was $704,000. And if you look at our total for the year-to-date activity, it's $2 million. And if you think about some of those one-time things or those things that are not a normal occurrence, that would put us at about $1.3 million in operation for normal things. And also, there were some items in there that are one-time items. And as we go through this, you'll see those. Those only occur in this month, usually every year. Do y'all have any questions on the general fund by function?
Are we still on the activity bus? We're still, I mean,
We're on track.
I didn't know that maybe a little sooner, but.
Not yet.
Okay.
The next page is the revenue year-to-date. You can see that we had $156,673. Part of that was state money, but it wasn't our normal allotment. We haven't received that yet. Or we have, but we haven't received it. We hadn't received it at the time. And then we picked up some local revenue of $85,000. That's probably delinquent taxes. It should be. So you should see a bigger number next month. That's it for the revenue year-to-date. If there's not any questions, I'll go to the monthly capital outlay. This is the monthly capital outlay as reported by item. There's where you see the $82,000. And the next page is also the monthly capital outlay, but it's broken down by fund. You can see that 180 athletic fund paid out $2,400, and general operating fund paid out the $82,000. And then we had a grant for $19,200. And then we had some money come out of the capital project fund of $20,393. And those will be in the check register also. And that's it for the monthly capital outlay report. If there are any questions, we'll go on to the check register. I'm not quite sure how y'all want to go through this. I can open it up for questions, or I can just point out some of the larger numbers that we have. But I think I'll start with questions if y'all are okay with that. So if you have any questions, and I'll cover a few things.
One thing that I wanted to comment on is I'm pulling last year's check registry from this same span of time and comparing it. Mostly because I want to track the gas usage. I want to track water. I want to track electricity. And the gas usage, if you look on page 1 of the check registry, I've kind of got marks all over mine, but it's 3,000 something 33.80. I've marked out that middle number. But last year the gas usage during this same span of time was 7,152. So big jump in the right direction. The water is almost dead even. It was $34.97. Last year it's $35.19, so it's a little higher but pretty comparable. And then if you flip on back, the biggest one was gas, but if you go all the way back to the last page 7 of the check registry, almost down to the bottom, the diesel fuel last year was 8,252, whereas this year it's 7,380. We still, the contraption we have ordered to monitor our gas is supposed to be installed October 26th, which is next week. But to have improvements even before we got that thing on there, it made me really happy to see that. And then just for kicks, I added up last year's check registry versus this year's, and this month was $893,000 less than what it was a year ago total. So we're trending in the right direction.
That speaks a lot about what we had to pay in insurance this year.
That's what I was
Big
going to say.
difference.
Because it was a big difference.
So we're really
Make that comment even with the insurance doing what it did. You can still say that says something. That insurance.
There's a chunk.
Unbelievable.
page 2. Just point out there under the Dawson County, you'll see the $46,000 is split between the appraisal fee and the collection fee. But you'll see that that's. I just want to remind you that that's a quarterly payment. And again, I'd just like to mention there were a lot of items in here that were considered one-time items.
The 13,000 you talked about on the vehicle repair,
Yes.
that's a 2016, so it said?
Yes, I think that's right.
Ford, is that one of the expeditions or is that one of the
Buses.
buses?
Yes, sir. Keep talking, and I'll pull up my spreadsheet of the buses, Ron. I'll be able to tell you which exact one that is.
It says 2016 Ford Transit wagon.
Ron McBee, keep talking.
So, as an example, on page 4, you'll see some work done on the gates and the panic bars for $19,000.
But- will some of that be covered by the grant? Or is that just?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, it'll
Some of
offset?
that, and then there was something else in here that will also be covered
Okay.
by the grant. I don't remember which one it was.
And then you had, for example, a little further down there, you have Huddle Athletic Department package, and that's our scouting package. That's an annual event, so that kind of spiked the numbers up this year too.
And they went up on their prices by $3,000 as well. But every sport uses it now.
There's a lot of things in here that are normal for the first time of the year, and I just wanted to point out that that's just part of the impact on the percentages that we looked on the front page of, because those are exceptions, things that we won't do in the next following months. So what I'm saying is you should see a trend of those numbers slowly going back down, the ones that are higher, because of the impact of the activity for the first month. You're paying for some things that are going to be used for 12 months and have been allocated for 12 months in the budget, but they're in actual activity, they're all paid for right now. So it skews it a little bit for the first few months. So Mr. Ritchie mentioned some of those things that we'll be tracking, and we were going to wait till we got that device in the pump control in over there before we started that. But we'll get some spreadsheets going with some of the other areas for electricity and our gases. So,
On page 5, what is Thrill Share?
That is the email server. When parents email staff members from the website, that's the service that kicks it to us.
I had to look that up. Didn't know what that was.
That's the one. What is Thrill Share? It's kind of fun if we're not.
Mr.
So that
Matt?
vehicle, is that one that we're downing when we get the new one in?
Yes, and when I'm up in a minute, I'm going to kind of talk about a plan that I'm kind of looking into that phases those out.
I didn't know if it was one of those expeditions. I was just thinking 13,000 is kind of high for an expedition.
Agreed.
It's a bus. What's going to cost?
2016.
So this is also, I was just mentioning some of the things. This is also when we pay a lot of our TASBO and TASA and TASB memberships. Just a lot of that is renewed, and a lot of the athletic departments through 180 also spend, the portion of the plan spending for a portion of their budget to get all their equipment, uniform, and a lot of their fees paid that they do through the month. So I think it was a good month. All things considered, I think it was a very good month. So if y'all don't have any questions, very good. Thank you.
You.
Texting Randy to see what car that is because I don't have it on me.
Do we need to do that? Make a motion, we approve the financials as presented.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Now we're on to administrative reports.
Ready? Guys, Vanessa Hernandez is going to kind of talk us through some of the stuff for our ESL program. This is something that is informational. It's not something you have to act on, but it is important information. Y'all know how I feel about Vanessa. I talk about her all the time. I think she does a fantastic job for us, so I'm actually very excited that she gets to come show off her skills tonight. So it's all yours, Ms. Hernandez. I can hand stuff out for you.
Mr. Ritchie,
Oh,
do we have to do anything on the donations?
donation.
Yeah.
Yeah, we received a $1,000 donation from the bank, our neighbor, and it was for a spirit award, and
It was the Littlefield game.
yes, thank
They
you.
gave $1,000 to. That we were in some competition, the two banks, and we won. So we got $1,000.
$1,000.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
So Mr. Ritchie is handing out the packet of the ESL overview. The purpose of the overview is just to highlight contents of program components, credentials of program teachers, and the level of program effectiveness of our ESL program. So I'm going to kind of just skim around through it and things that are updated, because a lot of this is the background information of how the ESL program works, kind of what the law says about, why they created the ESL program, those types of deals. So I'm not going to read through all that. None of that has changed. But we did last year, and this is just reporting off of last year, there were 91 students, which was a 5.98% total students population at Lamesa ISD that were in the ESL program. There were 25 at the high school, 18 at the middle school, 22 at North, and 26 at South. So that's where that made up our 91. I also have, and so that, it's kind of confusing when you go through and read how, if you're not familiar with how the ESL program and how kids qualify for that based off of their home language security survey that they do. I was going to say home language security, but their survey that they fill out. So I'm going to hand this out because this is a little flow chart that kind of takes all this wording and it's kind of what I say my modifications, accommodations that I like to use for everything. But going on to the last part, that's the real important part, is on page 10. Let's see where it starts. Yes, on page 10. So how many teachers does Lamesa ISD currently have that's certified in ESL? We currently have 20 ESL certified teachers that meet the requirements in addition to certified curriculum and instructional staff, administrators, counselors, and paraprofessionals that are also trained with the K-12 Summit. The vast majority of our certified teachers, ESL teachers, are at the elementary level, but this was an increase from the 2019-2020 school year that we had 14. Although there was a slight decrease from the 21 to 22, we had 22 then. So we are at the 20, and I'll kind of mention the recommendations. We're, again, trying to increase that. Ideally, we'd like to have all of our English teachers and reading teachers to have that certification. Sorry, that was in there. My notes.
Ms. Tosh was at her notes.
I was like,
she was like, she may need this, so I had to switch it out.
And on there, I added a overview of the TELPAS scores from last year. And that we did have one student that exited the ESL program last year. There's the overall for reading, listening, speaking, writing. What's in the works, and our kids, when they look at the composite, they have to, in order to work on exiting out, they have to have scored advanced high across the board. And when talking with some of our ESL teachers, there were some glitches with the speaking. There was they started it and they had to continue going. They weren't able to organize their thoughts. So that was some of the things that they're working with now to try to better prepare them for this upcoming year. So recommendations is, like I mentioned earlier, to work closely with Region 17 on strategies to encourage our ELAR teachers to pursue their ESL certification. Additionally, we would work alongside with them through the process of preparing those teachers for that certification exam. And then during our ESL pullouts, and at the high school, they're using, high school and middle school, using your tea time and being able to serve those kids during that time. But we do have teachers that are now returning, giving us lesson plans so that what's happening in those, that tea time, those pullouts, is beneficial for our students and it's effective. That's targeting our more pressing needs in the language acquisition and academic success. We'd also like to recommend create opportunities within their lessons to give them the opportunity to practice the speaking and listening by engaging in the peer-to-peer dialogue to better prepare our students for that listening and speaking component of the telepass by making it more of a natural process. That was kind of one of our lower areas from last year's results. And then to continue monitoring their growth, their progress with the Summit K-12 Mind Play reports as well as teacher observations based on students' work and their participation during those activities that are in the lesson. Those were all the updates and what we're working forward and for this year. So that next year when this is presented, those scores are a little better too.
It's a lot like a lot of the things we talked about. It was kind of in disarray, and we're trying to kind of get it back moving in the right direction. And she's done a great job, along with Ms. Bauman has helped her out quite a bit. But we finally have us all going in the same direction, more than we have in the past.
All right. I think I made it short and sweet. If y'all have any questions, just let me know. Email me, whatever, and I'll get those for you. All right. Thank you.
That was a sigh. That was a big sigh right there.
I'm like, this is going pretty quick. I'm like,
I get to go touch volleyball now. We'll see you.
Okay, guys, just the superintendent report. Like I told y'all last time, I'm never going to go over it, but I've started attaching the 5 goals that we decided on and just things that I do. And it's just adding all the time. A lot of those you do every month, but sometimes I do something different, or we do something different, so I add it on there. Our enrollment as of today, at South we have 394 students, North 296, middle school 335, high school 488, academy we have 3. We have graduated 1 because we were at 4. So our total is 1,516 students. Which I often talk when I was at the high school last year. We were sitting right around 1,473, I believe. So we're up. We're still not where we were a couple years ago, but we're up. Today we had our first biannual sheriff's meeting, and that is now required from House Bill 3, one of the new safety bills that the legislative session, the first session, did pass. And in that bill, one of the things that every district has to do is you have to have biannual meetings with your sheriff's department. And really it's organized by the sheriff's department, but it's all entities of emergency personnel, law enforcement, and school personnel in the county. So it was not just us. It was us and Klondike and Dawson and all of those superintendents, the PD, the sheriff, the EMS, the fire, everybody in one room. And TEA's goal is to just make sure, even though we all have our own emergency plans, that we are still kind of on the same page. Because if we were to ever have a tragedy anywhere, we're all going to be in there helping out our community. And so it went well. No one really knew what was expected because it was the first ever. But I thought it went really well. A lot of participation. Every organization was represented. Our emergency operations plan, which we've been working with a lot, the safety committee, we've talked about it at those. Dr. Nelson's been doing a great job with it. We have to turn that in October 25th, TEA. And part of that was we had to have this meeting that we had today before we could turn it in. So that's why we had to get that thing done. Legislative overview, we are stuck in a holding pattern. All right, there's two bills out there. As I told y'all, Governor Abbott called a special session just for vouchers. And he has made it clear in his quote, I wrote it down on mine, was he will hold public school funding hostage until they pass a voucher bill. And we know that. We've known that the whole time. So Senate Bill 1 is the voucher bill. And it has changed a little bit since the last time I talked to you. So what they're saying is $500 million, but don't get fooled. That's just the first year. Okay, it will go up. $500 million to fund it. It has passed the Senate. House is already done for the week. They're not going to reconvene until next week, but the House has not heard it yet. The school does have to be accredited because one of our fears all along was homeschools could just do it and get $8,000. They are going to make the school be accredited. But the way the people get accredited is still kind of up in the air. So I still do think there's a bit of a loophole that Ron McBee could start a school, honestly, in his garage, possibly get it accredited, and it still count towards this deal. If you are in a homeschool private school, you only get $1,000. So I do think that will keep some people from trying to jump on that wagon. You get $1,000 instead of $8,000. One of the other big things that I thought was important was we're trying to make sure they want to do it by a lottery system. So they basically came out and said these different categories will be considered first, and they put the low socioeconomic population at 40%. You'll get in. But it's a lottery, and if that lottery is done in private, because these private schools still have to accept you, we have fear that they will forget all of this, and it will be what we all think it is going to end up being, and the $8,000 will go to the people that are already going to private schools. So we're pushing to have that lottery public, so that if they don't accept people, they have to tell us why. There's still no STAR. There's still no test they have to pass. There's no limit on what private schools can charge. One of the people that were against it wanted it to be capped at $8,000 if that's what the voucher is for, but obviously they can't make private schools do that. So what most private schools will probably do is just charge $8,000 over what they're already charging. And to me, the biggest crime in all this is they have no responsibility to serve special education or 504 students. They can legally turn those populations away by just saying we don't have the personnel to serve them. And then the last thing I would say, if you're in the community, is even some of the politicians don't understand that ESAs, education savings accounts, are the same thing as vouchers. I heard a legislative guy say the other day, I'm not for vouchers, but I am for ESAs. They're the exact same thing. But that's what's happened. They've used this verbiage to kind of trick people. So that's Senate Bill 1. And on the other side is Senate Bill 2, which is our public school funding. It also has passed the Senate, and the House hadn't heard it yet. So what it looks like right now is it would infuse $5.2 billion into public schools. There's a lot of good things in it. It would raise our basic allotment from $6,160 to $6,235. It would increase teacher pay, and schools with less than 5,000 students would get approximately $10,000, whereas schools with 5,000 or more, the teacher raise would be $3,000, which does, in my opinion, help us because of we'll get more than the Midlands, we'll get more than the Lubbock. So that would help us, in my opinion, in recruiting some of those teachers and keeping some of those teachers. And then there is also possibly, it's not real clear how it's worded yet, a $10,000 bonus one time, plus in the second year a $10,000 raise. What is still up for grabs is they have said that they're going to pay for this for the first 2 years. And then after that, there's no idea where the money might come from. That's the biggest fear to me, is that you give these raises, and you basically, if you get $10,000, you basically have raised your bottom of your pay scale. If they stop funding it, everybody's going to be in trouble. They've also increased the safety allowance from $10 to $20, which originally they were pushing for $100. And then it does expand TIA, which is real interesting to me. And Ms. Bowman and I have talked about it. That's the teacher incentive allotment, which we had 3 teachers, correct? 3 teachers get last year, which is an incentive for them to earn more money. And in this bill, it expands it to where at least 50% of the teachers in Texas would qualify for it, and it raises the amount of money that you can get based on how well you do. We think it's kind of hypocritical because you're going to be rewarding teachers whose academic results are not necessarily what they're being rewarded for if you're going to give it to over 50% of the teachers in the state. And that's something that we just philosophically kind of struggle with a little bit. But we're all about our teachers getting more money. But Senate Bill 2, they're not going to touch it until they pass Senate Bill 1. They won't even hear it. And so it's going to be real interesting what the House does. I think this is the first time ever where it could possibly pass the House. I really do. And I do think if it passes the House, I think we'll get this funding. But I promise you in 3 years we're going to be standing up here if it all passes and wondering how in the world we got where we are. Because the Senate Bill 1 funding is going to be well over what it starts with, and the public school funding is going to be well under what they're giving us. So it's still very scary.
It's going to hold it hostage over 2 years.
100%. Yes.
So the current funding for a student is 61.
Yes, sir. 6,160. And then, of course, anybody that has special services, Mr. Mann, it adds a little bit.
But they're wanting to do a voucher at 8,000.
Which, and I've said that from the beginning. So you're telling us that the private school kid is worth
8,000.
basically $2,000 more than our public school kids. There's nothing good about it. He is just Governor Abbott, and I've said this from the beginning. There's some very wealthy, and 2 of them are from West Texas. There's some very, very wealthy people that are funding this, and he's told them he's going to get it passed. So we'll see how it goes. I think we'll know a little bit next week when the House reconvenes. They met this week, but they didn't hear this at all. And it sat on the Senate floor for 14 hours. They debated it for 14 hours, and here's what's interesting. Senate Bill 2 passed unanimously. Senate Bill 1 was, I think it was like 18-13. It was still a close deal. So it's going to be real interesting when it gets to the House. Any questions over the legislative part before I go on? Okay. Construction and building. I think I mentioned it last week. My months kind of run together. But Ray did a great job of lining up a meeting with not just David Montoya, who was our construction lead, but we got the Lee Lewis people out here last time, and I was there, Dr. Nelson was there, Coach Moreland was there, and we made it real clear what needs to be fixed. And I've spoken with Holly. We're in good shape because we've notified them of all the problems well before our time runs out. I've been reassured this time by Lee Lewis that everything we see that is not right will be fixed. I feel better about it today than I did the last time I stood up in front of you because we got the right people out here to see what was wrong.
Even once they fix it, and then let's just say if some time goes by and are they still going to warrant something that they've already
It depends
fixed?
on what it is.
Okay.
Like the concrete, if you've been in our parking lot, there's some pretty big chips in the concrete. Then Montoya tried to tell me that one of our people drove a truck over it. I pointed at the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 other concrete and said, well, we didn't drive a truck over all of them. So that's where I got frustrated in Ms. Gonzalez, and that's why we got the Lee Lewis guy out here. We'll have to research because everything will have its own warranty. The video board is going to have a different warranty than the roof. But the fix it all, regardless, it ends in December. And that's why we're documenting what we asked. That way they can't tell us we asked after the deadline went. Does that
If they
make
come back and fix it, though, and
then that
again after a
warranty
year,
starts.
you'll get another.
Yes.
Okay. That's
Yes.
all. Yeah, lingering. That's
The
what they-
biggest problem is, and we were blessed to have the rain because we could see where the leaks were really at. And with us there, we had them knock out brick because we wanted to see if it was inside the brick. And it was. And so we think they're going to come knock out some brick. They're going to come relay the brick. They're going to fix the concrete. They're going to come do the roof. They're also going to look at the CTE roof while they're here and hopefully fix that for free as well, because we've got leaks. You know that firsthand because of your wife. But I feel much better than I did last time because of who we got out here. But I'll continue to keep y'all updated on that. The furniture in the library that you guys approved, I think 2 months ago, started showing up on, what is today? Thursday? Tuesday. And it looks awesome. Ms. Jasper, she wants to have a grand opening. She just won't let people come see it. But I told her, I said, we're going to show the board before we have the grand opening. So I'll give y'all the tour. But it looks awesome. I walked through there today, and I'm really happy for our kids because they're going to love it. The last two things, and this kind of goes, Mr. Mann, you were asking earlier, and I kind of said I was going to talk about this. These are just things that I'm exploring, and if I feel like they're worthy, I'll bring to you well before. We'll have conversations about them before. When we were at Tassie, the people that were buying our coach liners were here. Y'all saw the buses at the very back. And I started talking to them, and they were trying to sell one to some people from another district. And I heard them start talking about how a lot of schools finance their buses and their fleets through government capital. And that's what that says right there. So I went and found the government capital booth. And ends up, one of them's a Sweetwater guy, and they'll know how I feel about Sweetwater guys. So I had him come up last week, and he's pretty serious business. And what I've sent him is our fleet. And I'm just thinking buses right now. Because as I've sat here and looked at it, the bus we ordered, basically we're looking at using next year. Maybe late in the spring. And I have always thought, maybe not next year because we've got to see where our fund balance is, but maybe in 2 years we get us another one. And in 5 years, we have 2 new activity buses that we think will last us for a decade. And our yellow bus fleet is in much better shape than it is now. But visiting with government capital, I just wanted to see if we could accelerate that timeline. And to me, it was worth at least investigating. And so what I've given them is a list of all of our buses, the years they were made. Had Randy go through and highlight the ones she would like to phase out first. And they're putting together a plan of what it would cost us over a 5 to 7 year period to go ahead and start replacing some of those buses. So instead of having a big chunk in 2 years, we might have some smaller chunks along the way, but we would have buses a lot faster. So I'm investigating it, and as I learn more, I'll bring it to you. I thought it was definitely worth investigating.
For sure.
Questions on that one? The last one, Schneider Electric, and I did put an attachment in your board book so you could see what it is. Also from Tassie. I met this guy, and what they do, we have Mantis Energy, and y'all had Bob Spikes come talk to y'all, the one that's cutting off some of our meters and checking that. What these people do is they check everything. So they're going to do a no-cost evaluation, and they're going to come look at water, gas, electric, windows, thermostats, everything we do, and they're going to see if there are ways they could help us save money. I know 2 districts that have used them, and they've benefited greatly from them. Ron didn't use them. He used the previous version of them. They've changed, but if we get to that point, I'll have them come talk to you, because one of the things that they guarantee is if we don't reach the savings that they tell us that we will reach, they cut us a check for what they said that we were going to save. And I just think it is, y'all know I've been preaching the energy, the gas, the water, electric since I got here, and I still think it's a piece that we're wasteful, part of it, but we're also operating on such old things in some other aspects, windows, some of the lights, that it's just eating us up in the pocketbook. So I definitely thought it was worth exploring to see if there's things we could do to improve that. And so no different than the first one. Once they have kind of a plan, they're going to come out. And I'm going to ask 2 board members when they come out, 2 or 3, whoever is available. They're going to come walk the whole district and then sit down at a lunch and learn with a group of people from the district and tell us what they found. And I'd love for board members to sit in on that so y'all hear it from there as well. So when that date comes, I'll let y'all know, and whoever would like to attend. Okay? Questions over any of that? Last thing I had on there was the gym name, guys, and it's not anything we have to do tonight. I do want to pick those discussions back up. And I've spoke to Ms. Gonzalez on Monday. I think if we could have a name by the time we came back from Christmas, second semester, if we could know kind of the direction we're going, then I could take care of ordering what signage, whatever we need, and we could kind of get that taken care of. Included the policy. Pretty simple policy. I read it. It's pretty short and sweet, but just something for us to start considering as we get closer. Any questions about anything? Perfect. Thank you guys for everything y'all do. Y'all are massively appreciated.
Go into executive session allowed by Texas Open Meetings Act. Consider and discuss personnel Texas Government Code Section 5.1.074.